Did you ever have an imaginary friend when you were a kid? A make-believe character created by your innocent ingenuity?
I am not imaginary.
Let's try that again. Did you ever have an imaginary friend when you were a kid? Maybe you were homesick and all your friends were away at summer camp. Being bored may have given rise to an imaginary friend to talk to and play with for a day. Then, maybe in middle school, you made up your own game to pass the time with your friends. Or, if you're an adult with kids or a teacher, maybe you've come up with new ways to explain concepts to kids or students. The point is, whether you're a child or an adult, God has given us the creativity to solve problems and, at times, meet needs for various things. This has given rise to great inventions and discoveries. Without our God-given ingenuity, there may have been no discovering electricity, or finding new ways to construct buildings like skyscrapers, or inventing cars, airplanes, or iPads.
No iPads!
Yes, it's a gift from God to have ingenuity and creativity. Now, like all good gifts, there's always the possibility of misusing our creativity. Sometimes we may see a need or void in our lives or beliefs and fill it with something toxic. But I'd like to talk about that later. Right now, it's time for the math metaphor. Whoa, don't fall asleep on me. So the theme is
imaginary numbers.
To understand this concept in greater detail, it is first important to know about square roots. So normally a square root symbol would look like this, but since I'm not quite sure how to make that on my computer program, I will use the letters SQ to represent it. To take a square root, you find what number multiplied by itself would equal the original number. So the square root of 4 equals 2 because 2 times 2 equals 4. Likewise, the square root of 9 equals 3 because 3 times 3 equals 9. Same with 16. That equals 4. Now, we also should know that a negative number multiplied by another negative number equals a positive. So, if you try to take a square root of a negative number, it is not possible. What is the square root of negative 4? We can't say, because negative 2 times negative 2 equals positive 4. To find a square root, two numbers have to be the same. Two negatives can never be multiplied to get another negative. So now, in some math problems, negative square roots arise. So, mathematicians have come up with a way to compute certain equations when dealing with negative roots. Welcome, the number I, our very own mathematical imaginary friend. So, I equals the square root of negative 1. So, instead of saying the square root of negative 9, one can say, let's see. Let's use some math properties and say square root of 9 times negative 1. You can split that into the square root of 9 times square root of negative 1, okay? And then, of course, the square root of 9 is 3. And we can say, aha! The square root of negative 1 equals I. And, of course, 3 times I is written as 3I. So, instead of saying the square root of negative 9, which you can't do much with, you can say 3I. And I acts similar to a variable, like x or y. And this makes dealing with certain equations a whole lot easier. Whew! Thanks for sticking with me on that. So, once again, like I said before, when there's a need to fill, humans can fill it. We just have to make sure we fill it with the right things. Now, in the math world, imaginary numbers make sense. But in our spiritual lives, sometimes we see a different side to this idea. Now, the most important void in our lives is what some people like to call a God-shaped hole. There's even a song about that.
There is a God-shaped hole in all of us.
So, a God-shaped hole is basically a clever way of saying that every human being was born with the need to serve or worship a higher being, if you will. And of course, that higher being is God. And not everyone acknowledges this very real void, or even realizes that it's there. But I truly believe that everyone is either consciously or subconsciously searching for purpose. Many people do answer that inward pull to give their lives to God. However, many other people try to fill that void in their lives with things that do not fit. Things that may be important, but should never take precedent over Him, the only truly fulfilling choice. People turn to their hobbies or careers, significant others, or try to fill their life with pleasure. Even those of us who are serving God sometimes put too much emphasis on these things. Now, I'm not saying we should all run to the hills and become hermits and just toss off everything in our life. Hobbies, careers, people, friends, having fun, they're all gifts from God. But they should never be on a higher level than Him in our lives. We all have things that are important to us in life. We all have hobbies. I love to write stories. My wife and I love to read. The Wii is pretty cool.
Take that, Ganondorf.
And going online is pretty great too. And more importantly, we have our families. Some of us are happily married. And we have our jobs. My wife is a teacher at a preschool.
Look, sparkly pumpkin from preschool.
I enjoy my job. I feel it's an important part of my life. I work at a high school, and my goal is to really make a difference in students' lives. Shout out to all the students I work with. So, let's celebrate all God has given us, and always put Him first. Nothing can fill that void in our lives except the perfect and undeniably true love of our Creator.
Imaginary numbers.
Wait. Oh. Ha! I recorded it. That's funny. Okay. Imaginary friend to play with. Redo. The point is... what is the point?
I fall asleep.
Oh,
Yeah. I like this book. This sounds cheesy.
Oops! Still recording.